This is Deducter bringing you another commentary playthrough of Sword of the Stars The Pit Gold Edition, and this time I will be using the Hiver Warrior on normal difficulty. So there are 4 new classes in the Gold expansion. Of them, it's arguable that the Striker is probably the hardest of all the character classes to play, and the Seeker is probably the easiest, mostly because psionic powers in this game are really, really powerful, to the point where, these days I don't even really like to play psionic characters anymore. They're just so powerful once you get a hang of it. And I prefer characters who are more of a challenge. This is a roguelike. It's pretty standard for roguelikes not to have actual, truly balanced characters. NetHack is the classic example, right? And even a game like Dark Souls, which is kind of a roguelike, has, options where you basically start with nothing. What's that character class called that you start with nothing? Anyway, the point is that they don't have to be balanced. And this guy, the warrior, and I'm just going to go ahead here, is very different from the last character I played through, which is the Scout. So here are his advantages, which is that he starts with some pretty good equipment, 100 durability armor, that's amazing, a flamethrower, that's even more amazing, high durability blade weapon, this can last a very long time, if not the entire game, if you're really careful. All the chances are you get something better sooner or later, but it's a really good starting melee weapon, and he starts with plenty of grenades and Hiver multi-tool, which I think is the best rechargeable item in the game because it can buff your mechanical skill, and besides a crowbar, this is the only way to buff it. And mechanical is useful for so many things, especially crafting some of the most critical recipes. Oh, by the way, Hiver cannot wear Hiver armor, just something to keep in mind. He is not morbid. He doesn't wear the I guess it would be the skin of his fellow brethren, if you would, and yeah, that makes sense, right? And there are various other restrictions, humans can use the most out of all equipment, and the Lear can use the least. This guy, Ranger, also uses most equipment, but not all. This guy is more restricted than the Ranger, but not as restricted as the Lear. So something to keep in mind with this character. Now, he starts with really good combat skills, high rifle, high assault weapon, really high heavy weapon skill, and that's great for his flamethrower, good blade, and his weakness is pistol, which, this pistol, the Kerrazin, is actually really good if you get high accuracy. The problem is it's just so inaccurate because it does 10 damage, 70 penetration, and attacks twice. This is actually an amazing weapon if you can hit with it. Once you get pistol up, this thing is actually really good. Plus, it has 55 durability, so you don't have to worry about it breaking like the auto pistol. And we'll have to be very careful and use this very cleverly at the optimal range basically all the time. There's almost no point in trying to shoot this long range. So, that being said, those are his strength. Oh, he also gets base 30 armor, so plus the Hiver armor. I'm going to call this the Hiver armor. I can't pronounce something like this. The armor. It's really good. So 75 armor, but then he sucks at everything else. You can see all his other skills are crap. No mechanical skill, no, although this can be buffed with Hiver multi-tool. Lockpick is junk, computer is junk. Decipher is junk, not that I really need it. Forging is junk, biotech is junk, no psionic potential. I mean, he starts with 90 side points, and this is actually more of a critical flaw, which is that his power solo, he's super vulnerable to psionic attacks, which is probably his worst weakness. I mean, all the other stuff you can compensate with, but psionic abilities are so common later on that you need to think of some way of protecting yourself to the point where you basically have to boost power, I feel like. Otherwise, you're just going to get, feared and into oblivion. Anyway, we'll see how it goes. So, without further ado, it is time to just start and take a look around. I like to see if there are any fruit trees on this first level. or level 0, I should say, and there aren't in this playthrough. That's alright. One other thing about the hiver, which I think I forgot to mention, is that he also consumes food faster than most of the other races. Only the striker is worse, but the hiver consumes food significantly faster than the human. I think it's around 50%. I don't know the exact number, but it's very noticeable, to the point where normally, like for human class, I just unequip this and use rest a lot. But because I am not confident about the food situation, I will actually need to like aggressively use my durability on my item. Basically, normally you trade food for durability. In Hiver, it's the opposite. You trade durability for food. If you think about it, every single resource in this game comes down to food. There is a finite amount of food in the game. So if you really think about it, everything is food. That being said, the enemies on the first level are so weak, we can just use the melee to kill them. And I have to be very careful about my movement and try to not make unnecessary moves. Uh... 60%, nothing found. That's a problem.
Even your blood smells bad.
Does it? Ooh, there's a rabbit. If I can kill it, I can get some meat, probably. That's not good. We're not foraging anything. Probably not adaptory. This is normal difficulty, so it's okay. Yay, meat. That's very important. Like, with this character, the Hiver Warrior, I have to use every single ounce of my cunning and play almost perfectly to, have no problem in the initial, ooh, food pellet, that's good. Like the scout, I'm pretty confident about winning. Multitude 92. I'm willing to save the charge for something a bit more important. Yeah. Let me think. 3. This takes 2 to open. And so here's another thing I have to do basically all the time. I'm going to keep the... Actually, this is the first level. Okay, I'm going to not need the armor later on. I'm going to start leaving the armor on. So for class like the Marine, I would always take my armor off before attempting to open the ammo crate to preserve their ability for an explosion, but it's not a real point doing it here. I am going to take off the stuff that's, insta-equip. And the reason why I'm leaving the flamethrower here is to use that trick where even though my foraging is crap and the chance is basically almost 0, but there is a non-zero chance, I think, even at low foraging, to get the bonus item. I might be wrong about it. I think there's a threshold you have to pass, so this might be incorrect, but there's nothing wrong with dropping these items anyway, where basically I'm trying to hit the extra fuel cell that comes from it. Got a crappy breaching charge, don't need that. He actually, I think, starts at... Oh, he doesn't... Oh, he does. He starts out with some breaching charges. And so the idea there was just to keep the flamethrower in my inventory and try to get myself an extra fuel cell to power it up, since this is going to be our best weapon for much of the early game. Admittedly, I don't have a ton of experience playing this character and using its special ability, flamethrower. I'm not very competent at positioning it. Oh, I'm not getting anything from these rock piles. That's actually a problem. Normally, I like to find at least something early on. Alright, we're getting like a couple food pellets, some rotten cheese. You can see there is a world of difference between doing this with the warrior and the scout. Or a character like the ranger. Just because my percent to forge something is so low that, I mean, I'm gonna level up. Don't need to equip my armor. Plus, I get like 30 base armor, so nothing to worry about. Lockpick. We can't backtrack. We're just gonna have to chance it. The scavenger bot should move next to me. More damage. That's unfortunate. Ooh, I should just kill it. Yeah, it's probably gonna explode in my face, but oh, I left the armor on. I meant to unequip it. Might as well unequip it now. Yep, to be expected. I honestly probably could have dropped that. I mean, it has the worst durability of everything. So I might actually want to preserve durability on something like that. Anyway, normally I would always try to repair Kanso. But the problem with the hiver is that because his food situation is so terrible, unless I am confident about it, I'm not going to waste my time doing anything that, you know, is basically pointless to do. Like, there's going to be a 1% chance to succeed, and sometimes you level up electronics anyway, but here, the food is not going to be worth it. Once I find tons of food, if, not once, if, in a roguelike, I find tons of food, I'm still not going to, like, go around corners with one move left. It's a really bad habit. Ooh, that's really, really bad. Ah. Okay, you can see me making mistakes already. I meant to use the arm blades and I just was not paying attention. Well, that's -1 fuel cells. Let's hope I don't do anything really embarrassing like that again. That's the thing about a roguelike, right? There are no do-overs, no backsies, no mulligans. It's not for everyone. Alright, at this point I might as well level. So, I think for the hiver is critical. You try to get finesse up. There are various weapons that use finesse that are really good. In particular, laser carbine requires 60 finesse, and you pretty much need like some sort of laser weapon. So you have to pump that first, and that'll be helpful for combat skills. You know, mechanical is really important early on since it allows you to get into most of the best like items. In particular, the food lockers in itself are like worth fortune +3. That's huge, and you can't wait. Like you can't, you know, just wait for this to hit 45 before investing in skill point. Now for the hiver, foraging is super critical early on. Got lucky there again. And then the last point, like honestly, he doesn't need a buff combat skills, and this is going to be a little like unconventional and perhaps even a bit dubious play on my part for where I want to spend the last point, which is that I love this particular skill. Manipulation is just so useful. It costs 20 size, so generally I'll never have a problem using it, and even if I do, you know, sooner or later I'm going to come across like psi boosting items, so I can just recharge my psi and use it. It's so useful for so many situations that for a clever player that I think I just have to take it. I just love it, and if I weren't going to take that, what I would investing at this point is probably Blade, try to get that damage up a bit more. But I'm addicted to that skill. Or maybe I should make this interesting and make this like a pure non-psionic playthrough. On the other hand, I actually want to succeed. The character, I think, you know what? Since this is a video, I'm just going to go with a pure non-psionic playthrough. Yeah, that'll fit the theme much better. But, I mean, it's close. I just think that if you're a really clever player, using telekinesis can be huge just to get that manipulation skill. But I am going to do without it and see how I adjust. So, I'm going to start leveling up Blade since I'm going to be using that a lot. And +2 the blades is good. Can't backtrack with him, so we just gotta use it now, and we get some nano meds. That's pretty good. Now that being said, we still want to like testing traps can be really iffy with this character. I don't think it's a good idea, honestly, until like the food situation stabilizes. That being said, I still want to unlock it to get the point, and this is like early floor. I'm gonna take the chance. The only trap I'm really worried about is obviously the teleport trap, since that will make me waste food. But being able to identify like a recharge trap or a cleansing trap is huge. Yeah, better start using the blade weapon.
Oh, the queen!
And even if there's a teleport trap, I'm not worried about death, because he's not gonna die on floor 2 on normal, even without any of the equipment. What don't I want? Probably the breaching charges. Huh. Well, this tells me Teal is good, but I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's like a healing trap, a side recharge trap, or a recharge trap. I don't want to waste charge on my hiver multi-tool just to find that out. So I'm just gonna make a note here. Sometimes when I play this game, when it's like really hard, I make little, I make little notes about stuff. So Teal equals good. That means it's safe to step through it. Yeah, and so, people often complain about this game being so RNG dependent. I actually think there's, at least on normal difficulty, not that much RNG involved, even with a really challenging class like the Hiver Warrior. You just have to basically play super carefully and remember stuff and make notes and understand game mechanics. Although, the way I put it, of course, if you know all these things, yeah, the game is not hard. Most people do not know all these things. But I just think there's a misconception that there is a lot of luck involved. And, I mean, there is a fair amount of luck involved, but I don't think it's actually that critical. I'm gonna equip my armor. At least forging went up. Alright. So remember, TO equals good. Obviously, we need to like get lockpicking up, because you need that to get into weapon locker, and gotta have more weapons. If I move here, the Strangler will move there. Oh, you surprised me. I just don't want to get like a free hit. He's probably just gonna throw the bolo at me, so I'm just gonna move up to him now. Yeah. Taking some durability damage on my armor, that's alright. We have plenty of it to spare, and I think the food is more critical early on again. Good. I mean, it's always a good idea to make sure it's not an Aptoid. 92% again, good enough. Come on, let's get a fuel cell. Get some rifle rounds, that's always good. Rifles are a pretty common type of weapon. And he has good rifle skills. Okay. All enemies in the game have like blind spots, so I'm pretty sure this thing can't see me, and just as I say that, it apparently did notice me. Not all enemies, some enemies don't. I think like psionic enemies basically see everything most of the time. Robots also typically have good sensors and can not gonna be bothered. I'm gonna explore that area first. Okay, that robot's running over there. I don't really care. Just gonna use the Reeve very aggressively early on. Like, if I find a ton of food, then of course the situation changes completely. And I did find, like, some food, which is always good. But it's not enough. What do I get? Harmonic resonator this early? I'm like, I mean, it's actually basically a useless find at this point, but ward against disintegration, ward against insta-death is just, I mean, the situation comes up rarely, but when it does, you will be thankful that you have this item to bail you out of wormhole trapping, teleported right next to Von Neumann probe.
The party earns his cheese today.
We obviously have to kill these bats because they drop sonic nodules, and I need sonic nodules to to craft the item that protects me against fear, or not, what am I saying? I need sonic nodules to craft humgum, and humgum is just, you know, too important for the hiver warrior. He needs to be able to get rid of his debuffs. Fear is the worst, but you know, he gets paralyzed a lot. For many character classes, the Ghostmaker is terrifying. For the hiver, whatever. He has plenty of strength, like Marine, Hiver, whatever. They don't bother him. I'm just gonna hack it to death with my sword. Not gonna waste any ammunition on this guy. Go ahead, poison me. Your little level 5 poison doesn't bother me. That thing will be back. I haven't explored that room yet. He'll catch up with me. As you can see. Better level up now. Let's see. Finesse. Again, Mechanical, since it's so critical early on. Foraging is great. And I'm going to level up Blade a bit more. And then after this, I'm going to basically start using my pistol a bit. And get pistol up. Maybe like 1 or 2 more times with Blade. Because the pistol is a really good weapon. He'll be back. Obviously, I want to kill the Ghostmaker. The experience is too good.
I will be well rewarded.
Tainted meat, that's great. 60 food. And let me go down there first. There's a robot running around, but I don't really care. Again, this virus with its disease level 3 doesn't even bother me with my 65 strength. There is nothing to be worried about.
Goodness, what a stink!
Ooh. Now, a robot, when I don't have armor equipped, is still very dangerous, even with my base 30 armor. I think even though I miss a good chunk of the time, I'm gonna have to move here. Disease worsen. It'll get better. I'll just equip the armor. If things like get truly desperate, I have antibiotics, but I'm not worried. Now I can't shoot it from here. I'm just gonna miss. You can see even here he's so terribly inaccurate. I want to try to hit him so I can put a point to pistol at the next level. And now we managed to hit him. Could be an adaptor, but it's extremely unlikely on this difficulty, so I'm going to take that risk. Deaths are still worth doing, even though the chance is so low and takes so long, just because I need to level up foraging. Like, foraging is so important to get early on. It's usually not going to be worth it once you get foraging up enough. And you can see the disease is just going away. Now, for the scout, level 3 disease is a huge problem early on. It can kill you. When I was like starting out in the game, I had runs where I had this disease and it killed me. So yeah, not the level 3 disease by itself. It gets, progressively worse until it kills you. Level 10, you just die. So yeah. It's not going to be worth using hybrid multi-tool on this, but at 16%, I'm willing to take that chance and, spend some time doing that. And get some more food. Okay, the food situation is looking a little more stable. Don't need to reload that yet since I don't really anticipate using that weapon a lot. Flamethrower and most like heavy weapons, one thing to keep in mind is that no matter how many charges you're reloading, always takes the same amount of time. So like one fuel charge reloads one. I mean, it's pretty obvious, right? In other words, and since we're not ever going to be spamming this, unlike many weapons, you can wait until it gets all the way down to 0 before reloading. Whereas, before going on new floors, generally you want to have most of your ranged weapons fully reloaded. Anyway, it is time for me to pause this video while I go on to the next floor. I am going to, however, rest. Yeah, I mean, I'm willing to trade some food for health. It's very risky, even though this is normal difficulty, going on to the next floor, and don't want to use any of my insta-heal items. Those are just going to be so useful. So, I'll close the door, and then take a look, and rest. Thank you for watching. Until next time.